I wanted to make a build that required no action skill. Now, I also been getting a lot of requests to make a Rough Rider or Amara build, so I figured let's combine both of those two ideas together and set it up for a challenge. Now, with those two combined, obviously it sounds like you're not going to have anything come out of it, but to my surprise, I have actually created a build that is very, very good. This build will allow you to solo anything in Mayhem 4, things like takedowns, slaughters, anything you need, and you don't even have to use your action skill. Like always, this build is located in my Discord channel if you would like to download it. So if you download the build, enjoy the video, or find it helpful in any way, remember, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and I truly appreciate it. But with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright, so getting into the gear, as you see, we have a very shotgun focused build. We're going to be getting up and close and destroying any enemy we see. Now, we have a shot conference card here with consecutive hits anointment, where we get increased weapon damage by 1% for each time we shoot an enemy. This is very, very good for mobbing, bossing, especially in the Wotan fight. You can take Wotan's shields down insanely quick with this thing, which is very good. And it's also good just in general play as well. Now, next we have a corrosive conference call, which is going to be your main armored weapon. This is going to help kill Wotan, Valkyrie squad, just any armored target. And also you see we have an anoint or an axe skill. We get 15% bonus incendiary damage for the next 2 magazines. Now, I said this is a no axe skill build, which is not, but we will be fate grasping to get all of our anoints on our weapons in shield and grenade. Now, I know if that turned you away when I said there's a no axe skill build, I'm sorry, but we're not even using the spiritual driver and elemental projector. This is strictly just fate grasping to get anoints on the shields and weapons themselves, nothing else. But next we have a lob right here where we get 50% bonus cryo damage on axe skill in. This again is kind of like the shot conference call. It's just another very good single target damage. Obviously the lob is insanely good, so you can use it for bossing if you want to, but if you just come across any enemy that's kind of tanky, you can swap to this and they're gonna die. It's very, very good, and it's one of the best shotguns in the game. Next we have the brainstormer right here. This is your main at clear weapon. The at clear you can get with this thing is disgusting on this build, and it is very, very fun. Now, as you see, we have action. We get the next 2 magazines get 50% bonus corrosive damage. With this and our shields and grenades and our skills, we're going to be able to do every single element with the brainstormer itself. So not only is this just a Rough Rider build, this is also kind of an elemental build. So you have the brainstormer doing every single element everywhere at one time, and it's actually crazy. It's very, very fun. Next we have the Rough Rider. As I said, this was a Rough Rider focused build. If you don't know what the Rough Rider is, you get 0 shields, but you get 35% increased health and 23% damage reduction. Now, this Rough Rider could be better. It could have incendiary resistance on it, and also like the plus reload speed when your shields are empty. I don't have any of that, but I do have an axe skill that make it 15% bonus cryo damage, which is very, very good. Rough Rider is not that popular for shield. When the game came out, it was kind of popular on Zane, but it has really died off recently, and I know people have been wanting a Rough Rider build, so this is going to make up for that. This build is insanely good. The survivability is very, very good, and the way you can work around it with the Amara is actually crazy. The next we have a It's Piss grenade right here, where we get 50% bonus radiation damage on excellent. But as you see, we have 4 other grenades if you don't want to have every single element on the brainstormer, or if you're taking it into, you know, something that doesn't need radiation. You have your other options right here. Unfortunately, the only Rough Rider I have is with cryo in, so I can't give you 4 other Rough Riders. But if you have those, you know, go right ahead. Then next I have a breaker, which may come to a shock to some. You don't really see this much, but this class is actually pretty good. It's not, you know, the greatest thing ever, but it works really, really well for this build. If you don't know what it does, basically you gain damage reduction the closer you are to an enemy, so that's up to 29% damage reduction, and that's going to stack on top of the Rough Rider's damage reduction, which is very, very good. Also, we're getting 25% weapon damage, 5 more grenades, and 149 health gen. Now, 25% weapon damage, very good. It's gonna make all the weapons do a lot more damage. 5 grenade capacity is kind of whatever, but it is nice to just be able to spam It's Piss grenades at people. Basically you can just keep applying the 20% debuff over and over again because you have pretty much infinite grenades. And then the health regen is not a lot, but since you're not even having a shield and you need to focus on health regen, it's going to help the Rough Rider out. Then finally, what brings this build all together is the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge, a new artifact that came from this DLC. This is basically giving you a lot more damage for shooting an enemy. You can get up to 105% more damage for just shooting an enemy. It is super easy to stack with something like the conference calls or even the brainstormer. The lob is kind of but basically just applying status effects, shooting enemies, you're just getting more damage. So this is also giving us 2,719 more max health and 50% magazine size. So this is very good for obviously survivability, for the max health, and the magazine size is going to help out a lot with things like the brainstormer, especially so we can keep spamming shots and taking advantage of some of our skills. Now, speaking of skills, let's get right into them. And we're starting off with 5 points in Anima to get more status effect damage and duration, and even more status effect damage based on whatever action skill element we're using. So that's going to be Incinerary, so we're going to have more Incinerary damage. Now, speaking of Incinerary, if we go back really quick to our Brainstormer, we're doing shock damage normally with the Brainstormer, corrosive damage with our Annoy, cryo damage with our Shield, radiation damage with our It's Piss, and then we have Incinerary damage, and we're taking Infusion. So that is all 5 elements on one weapon, and that is why the ad clear of this build is insane. So like I was talking about, 5 points in Infusion, this is converting 40 points of our damage to Incinerary. So our Brainstormer is doing everything, and it is actually crazy. Now we've been 3 points steady hands with 32% handling, 31% accuracy. This is just generally a very good skill for Amara, especially for shotguns, being able to just handle them a lot better, and it just makes the game more fun. Plus you have to get down to the bottom of the skill tree. Now we're putting 5 points of Tempest right here to buffer elemental damage by 30% and shock damage by 20%. This is generally just a very good skill for Amara. It's buffing your damage, and it's really nothing else to say about it. Now, if we get down all the way here, as you see, we're not taking Dread because, like I said, we're not using our action skill, but we're putting 1 point deep ball to get 20% magazine size for all our elemental weapons. And if you look at something like the Brainstormer right here, we have 17 shots in the Brainstormer now, which is very good, because that combined with our artifact is letting us get up to 17 shots, which is going to pair really well with sustainment right here, where 20% of our elemental damage we deal is returned to us as health. Now, this is the bread and butter of the build. We have other skills we're going to get into later, but essentially this is going to let you heal all the time, especially with something like the Brainstormer, chaining all the damage. You're always healing. Then you have something like the Lob doing an insane amount of damage. Basically 1 or 2 Lob shots heal you to max, and it's actually crazy, but we'll get all that and break down all that later. So next we have 3 points in Indiscriminate right here to basically let our bullets ricochet. This is really good on the conference call. Amount of bullets you shoot out is ridiculous, and they can all ricochet and hit other enemies. So it's a very good skill to take, because we also have to get down to the bottom. Then we have Forceful Expression right here. This is letting you do 18% more elemental damage based on your action skill, and it's of the damage dealt. So basically whatever damage you're dealing, you're getting 18% more damage on top of that, and that's why this skill is very good. Now, like I said, that is Incinerary damage. So now not only are we doing all the elements, our Incinerary damage is insane, plus our shock damage is also insane. Now remember, I said this is damage dealt. Then this is going to pair on top of our next skill tree. Now if we get over to personal space, this is essentially going to let you do up to 72% bonus damage of your damage dealt the closer you are to an enemy. Now starting off with this, the range of this skill is very far, so you're pretty much always getting this damage increase. Now, like I said, this is of damage dealt, so whatever damage you're already doing, like things like the Lob or just any, you know, OP weapon we're using, we're getting 72% just more of that damage. And that's also adding on top of Forceful Expression, which is now getting us up to 90% more of our damage dealt. So if you have something like the Lob plus all your other ASC anoints procced, or honestly just any of these guns, 90% of that damage is getting increased. It's not just a little bit more damage. Like it's not just adding a little bit of damage. Whatever damage you're doing is getting increased. You're almost getting that doubled. Some of it's going to be elements, but most of it is just going to be more of whatever damage you're doing. So that is why personal space is very good, and it is what is allowing this build to straight up destroy without even using an action skill. Now getting into the survivability of the build, again, we're getting 5 points of Root to Rise, increase our max health by 40%. So this is going to also stack on top of the Rough Rider, where we're getting 35% increased max health, which is very good. Then we're putting 5 points right here in Arms Deal. We need to get down towards the bottom, and this is going to help with our splash damage, which the lob actually does do splash damage. So that's going to buff the lob's damage even more, plus splash damage reduction for 40%. This is also very, very good. Now we have 5 points in Helping Hands here to get 40% damage reduction. Now even when you Fate Grasp, Helping Hands actually does proc, so we're getting 40% damage reduction right here, 29% right here, plus another 35% damage reduction. Then on top of all that, Sustainment is healing us with 25,000 health. So even when we take damage, we're not losing much health, and then we can easily heal it up with Sustainment and like the Brainstormer, and it is actually crazy. Then next we have 5 points of One with Nature right here to get 25% more max health and 40% elemental damage reduction based on whatever actual element it is, which is Incinerary, so we won't die to fire anywhere as we normally would. Then next we have 1 point in Guardian Angel right here. Basically, if we do go down, which doesn't happen often, we can get right back up and get right and back into the fight. This is on a 120-second cooldown, so you can kind of play around that. But for 1 point, this is a very good skill to take. Then finally, we have 3 points of Fast Hands right here to get more reload speed, weapon slot speed, and motion speed. Motion speed is most of the time does not matter, but reload speed and weapon slot speed are very, very good for this build. For the final 3 skill points, this is a solid skill to put in just to make the gameplay a little better. Now, as I kind of already went over, I'm just going to explain a little bit more. So we have things like personal space. The closer you are to your enemy, you get, like I said, you're getting a lot more damage. Plus your artifact, the closer you are to your enemy, you're getting more damage reduction. Then the Rough Rider is also giving you the damage reduction. Plus Helping Hands is giving you the damage reduction. Then you have things like One with Nature and Root to Rise give you more max health. And also the Rough Rider is giving you more max health. And then the bread and butter of all that damage reduction to max health, Sustainment, is always healing you, because 20% of your elemental damage you're doing is healing you all the time. Then speaking of elemental damage, we're getting some right here. We're getting even more elemental damage with Tempest. We have Infusion, so we have, you know, Soulfire right here as well, plus all 5 elements on all of these 3 pieces of gear. So we are constantly healing that 25,000 health bar, and the damage is just absolutely insane. For bossing, you have things like the Conference Calls to take down Wotan's shields, or, you know, his armor, or just anything. The Conference card here is also very good for bossing with consecutive hits anointment, and things like the Pearl of Infinite Knowledge is just making your damage skyrocket through the roof. And this is also helping your survivability because you have even more max health. And if things don't tend to die, you have an It's Piss Grenade to debuff enemies, which they normally do tend to die, so you don't have to worry about that, but you have it there just in case, plus 5 extra grenades if you need them. So all around, this build is absolutely insane. With everything I just went over, take in consideration that none of this damage we're doing is using an action skill. We're only Fate Grasping to proc our anoints on our weapons and shields. Also, we're getting Helping Hands with that as well. So in general, how you want to play this build is basically just get as close as you can to get personal space procced, get your Breaker class mod procced, and start to go to talent enemies. Between the Breaker, Rough Rider, Helping Hands, the damage reduction is insane, and things between like One with Nature, Root to Rise, and even the Rough Rider, plus our Pearl of Infinite Knowledge, you have just an absurd amount of health, 25,000 plus to be exact. Then you have things like Sustainment and the Brainstormer healing you all the time, so you're taking virtually no damage. Then you're healing all that damage up that you're taking, and the damage you're getting from Personal Space and Forceful Expression is just crazy good because it's stacking on top of all your anoints, all your normal damage, and it just shreds everything. So if you guys were tired of, you know, Phase Zerker builds or Spiritual Driver builds, definitely try this out. This is a twist on running a Breaker and not even having to use your action skill. Now, is this build the best of the best builds? Definitely not. I still would say my in-game SMG Amara build is probably one of Amara's best builds in the game, or pretty much any Spiritual Driver build. But if you want to try something different, This build is insanely good. As you see, it can clear the takedown with ease, no problem, and it can also clear things like Slaughter if you wanted to. But that's going to do it for the build. Like I said in the beginning of the video, it is located in my Discord if you would like to download it and try it out. And if you download the build, enjoyed the video, or found it helpful in any way, remember, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and I truly appreciate it. I'm still on the grind of 2,000 subscribers and we're getting closer and closer every single day. I thank you guys so much for all the support that you've been giving me on the channel lately, and I love each and every single one of you for it. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.